How you doing, folks? Eric Carlson here again. I am running for Congress in the 1st Congressional District in Illinois. I want to do this will be video number 15 in our Problems and Solutions series. And this is where I give my take on some of the things that are facing America today. If you have any comments or questions, or if there's a topic that you want to see addressed, I have an entire list that I'm going down. I'm getting these videos out as fast as I can so that people know exactly where I stand. All of my videos on all these topics are out there on YouTube, so there's no going back. It's on video. You can go look at the stuff whenever you want. Um, I just want people to know because I don't have money for the fancy ads or the TV or radio commercials. So this has to be word of mouth to get this stuff out to share. And if you want to know where I stand on stuff, this is the place to come, the videos. I'm also going to be doing a lot of speaking engagements once the weather warms up and once things get going here. But today I want to talk about something. Now, this is going to be a sensitive topic, and I don't think that it needs to be. Um, in this district right here, it is a majority black district, and it has been represented by a black congressman since I believe 1926. Oscar DePriest was the first black congressional representative from the first district, and he was a Republican. So to say that black people can't be represented by a Republican is wrong. And people need to stop looking at the D's and the R's next to the name and look at the person and see what they're trying to fix. Apply those three rules: common sense, logic, and reason. Does it make sense? Does what I say make sense? So on this one, I want to talk about, and yes, as of right now, I am the only white candidate in the running for Congress in the first district. Now, a lot of people would say, well, that's a fool's errand and you'll never get elected. And I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong because I think I connect with the people across this district on all levels a lot more than any other candidate here. And again, I'm not a professional politician. I'm going there. I'm going to work for everyone in this district. So this subject can be touchy. And the reason Republicans, in my opinion, do not run regular candidates, and they're not putting any money into this. They didn't, get some highfalutin candidate. I have, other than running for the Republican nomination, the Republicans are not supporting me with any money or anything else. This is all on my own. I just happen to have the Republican behind my name because I am a conservative, and that party aligns most with a lot of my core beliefs. And I think what you're going to see is, and when I get out there and I get to talk to people in the street and everything, you're going to see is a lot of black folks out there are conservatives too. You just don't realize it. You haven't been allowed to act. I'm going to go line by line and tell you all the things that we have in common. And you're going to say, yep, 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 yep. And like, geez, I'm a conservative. I didn't know it. I keep getting scared by these Democrats. They keep telling me that somebody's coming to get me and take stuff from me. So what we're going to talk about today is systemic racism. Now, this is something you hear in the news a lot. It's on the radios, TVs, politicians. And I saw a lot of people on the Democrat side in this race. We have to fight systemic racism, fight systemic racism. Well, you might as well be out there shadow boxing because I'm going to tell you something. And this is factual. Systemic racism does not exist. Racism on an individual level, absolutely. You've always had that. You always will have it. Individuals are not, and this is from all races. People don't like people from other races for whatever reason, and I'm going to go into that in a minute. But systemic racism, that term is a lie being told to you that somehow the entire system is rigged against you and there's no way you'll get anywhere. So you have to send these left-wing Democrats to Congress to enact these stupid, idiotic programs that only help to keep people in the place where they're at because they need you. They need your vote. If they don't have that so-called captive audience to keep coming back to and get them elected, that's why they drew this district the way it is. Illinois is 18% black. How do you have a district that's right now 52% black? That's somebody drew it that way on purpose because they're coming to black folks in this district and saying, yeah, you'll vote for us. We don't even have to work for your vote. So we don't have to worry about a Republican getting in there. It's not about the D's and R's, folks. It's about what job you can do, what you know, and giving a person a chance to try and make things better. You've gotten the same things from Democrats, like I said. 98 years, or excuse me, no, it was 1932 that DePriest was out, so you're looking at 90 years. 90 years, Democrats been running this. Just look around, ask yourself, did it get any better under the last 30 years of Bobby Rush for you? Ask yourself that question. That's not an insult, that's just a question you need to ask. Because I'm not Bobby Rush. I guarantee you, I get shit done. So, systemic racism, if you're going to say it exists, okay, for the people who are out there saying, oh, he doesn't know anything because he's white and he can't possibly see the problem. Well, I'm going to give you the definition. Systemic means that it's in the system, okay? In the system means it has to be written down somewhere. How would everybody know these rules if they weren't written down somewhere, or a policy, or even a verbal policy? So do you think, okay, is it in, where is it at? Is it in the government? Well, all these things, legally, it can't be. There's laws against that. And there's people of all races in all of these things. So where is this stuff hiding that only the white people supposedly can see it in government? And, you know, we get a special memo. I guess we have a special email or something that we get to know, you know, what to do in the system to keep everyone down. Think about how idiotic that is and how stupid it is. Governments, corporations, do you think any corporation in their right mind would make a policy, would put it down in writing saying that we discriminate against this type of person or this person because of their sexual orientation? Or, you know, pick your poison there as far as who's the affected group today. Excuse me, that's my dog upstairs. Businesses, same thing. Why would they hamstring themselves by potentially losing customers over a stupid policy? They wouldn't do it. It makes absolutely no sense. Individuals can be racist. We all know that. That happens. You just have to ignore those people. You know what? Eventually, those people fall by the wayside because they're left alone, because nobody wants to listen to their bullshit. Everybody's got their own stuff to do. And why are you messing with that guy over there? Leave him alone. He'll leave you alone. Go about your life. It's very simple. So the systemic part is the lie, telling you that it's ingrained. And this is how they've spoken down to black people and Latinos and said, listen, you'll never be able to get ahead in this country because there's some invisible force. It's in the system and it keeps you down. That's a lie. You live in the wealthiest country in the world with the most opportunity in the world. It's up to you to go out and grab it. And you can. And I'm going to give you an example right here. Because they're in the primary and we won't stand up on a stage ever. But right now there's 11 Democrats running for the nomination on the Democrat side. All 11 of them happen to be black. All 11 of them are college graduates. Several of them have been in local government, and some are attorneys. And this, if you have 11 black people running for office, and they all have attained at least bachelor's, some of them master's degrees, where's this systemic racism? Why didn't it keep them down? I am the only one in the race that does not have a college degree. The white guy. Oh, imagine that. Oh, stereotypes. People, you got to stop letting them do this. They're dividing us for a reason. It's for their own gain. Anyone from the Democrat side that gets in there is going to fall in lockstep with the Democrat Party and give you the same shit that you got under Bobby Rush for 30 years, the same shit you're getting from Lori Lightfoot in the city, the same shit you're getting from J.B. Pritzker. These people don't care about you. You're a ticket for them. They punch the ticket, and then they get to go and steal with their friends and their cronies. Human nature. Human nature. People are tribal by human nature. We always have been. It's been a survival thing since we first started moving out of the caves. We've been tight, and we stick with close bonds. Whether it be a neighborhood, whether it be by race, whether it be by ethnic group, you're Italians, Polish, Irish, this, you know, we tend to be tribal in a way. But that doesn't mean we can't be open. We live in the most advanced society in the world. If you look at history, now again, I'm a historian, so this is where this comes in, and I think taught the historic stuff there. Historically, humans, again, being tribal, Historically, anytime that you had a multicultural society, it has failed. Think about it. Look at the rest of the world. Look at who fights who. The British and the French, the Germans and the French, the Russians and the Ukrainians, the Chinese and the Vietnamese. Who I could go on and on. The Iran and Iraq. Who do you fight? Who do you usually fight? It's your neighbor. It's the guy right next to you because he's the one who pisses you off the most. His dog craps on your lawn. His kid backed into your fence with his car. It's the person that closest that you have the interaction with, that you're going to have the friction with. The human nature part of that is we're all like that, and it has nothing to do with race. It has to do with we have a tight group that we're comfortable with, and we get nervous when we get outside that tight group. But in this country, it's the only country that has successfully brought together. There's people from every country on the planet, every race, every whatever title or label you want to put on somebody. They live in the United States, and they thrive in the United States. Why do they do that? Black Americans, if you just took black Americans in this country, which are about 12.5%, 13% of the population, so roughly 38 million people, you took that 38 million people, blacks alone in this country are the 8th wealthiest nation in the world. Think about that. Think about the amount of money that has been accumulated by blacks in America, coming from slavery to where you are now. There is no keeping it down. The only thing that can keep black people down, supposedly, is fear. Dividing by fear because it benefits someone. Just sit back and look at who benefits by you giving them your vote, and nothing's gotten better over how many years. What I'm asking is that you give me a chance for 2 years. Like Donald Trump said in 2016, black voters, what do you have to lose? In 2 years, they'll start the campaign. We're only a year into the term of the people now. We're already campaigning. You can start campaigning against me in 1 year if I'm not doing what I said I was going to do, and I'll be gone in 2 years, and I will walk away if I can't get the job done. Show me one other candidate in this race that's going to say that. I will walk away if I can't get the job done. There's no one that will. I'm not a professional politician. I don't want to go there and stay there. I'm not going there to get rich. I'm not going there to get wealthy. I'm not going there to get famous. I'm going there to try and help fix this country and help the American people, because believe me, folks, if the federal government and the media and the politicians would just leave people alone, let us live our lives, do your job, what you're supposed to do. If you're doing your job properly in Washington, we should hardly ever hear from you. Everything should be running so smoothly. But every day I got to hear politicians come out and yell about this and that and division. It's always against their fellow Americans. I don't hear any Democrats coming out and say, screw the Chinese or Vladimir Putin's an asshole. You got Joe Biden over there getting ready to send troops there. After Hunter Biden made how many millions? Got how many millions from Ukraine? Now we're going to go defend him, but supposedly it was Donald Trump that was corrupt. Yeah, all that's going to come out. When the Republicans take back Congress, the stuff that's going to happen is going to come out. Okay, divide by fear. When you listen to politicians and, career politicians and media people and people on the news, listen to how they speak. Listen to how they word things. It's meant to divide. Everything that they say is meant to divide us, to get us fighting amongst each other. Because if we're fighting amongst each other, we're too busy to pay attention to them stealing, and we're also they can get that vote. If they think they can win with just your vote, they're going to turn that group against another group. How many times? Listen for this phrase: women and people of color. When they tell you something, it's going to affect women and people of color most. Well, who does that leave? White males. They want to make people like me out to be the bad guy, when I had nothing to do with slavery. I've also noticed that several of the Democrat nominees are about reparations. First of all, this country's broke. We're $30 trillion in debt. We don't have any money. They're printing money. You see the inflation going up, which is driving the price of everything up and weakening your dollar and destroying your savings. That's Democrat policy right now. Now they want to say, oh, we're going to figure out who was the relative, a descendant of a slave, and give them money. Well, whose money are you going to give them? You're going to give them my money? My tax money? Because my family didn't get here till 1888 on my dad's side, until 1910 and 1911 on my mom's side. So we didn't have anything to do with slavery. So when you say reparations, what you're doing is you're slapping a whole lot of people in the face that had nothing to do with anything like, especially up here in Illinois. This was not a slave state. It never was a slave state. There weren't slaves in Illinois, all right? But when you politicians throw that up there, it's meant to divide. Yeah, they're going to get you money. You really think they're going to get you money? No, they want your vote to get them in power so they can get money, because they know that's never going to pass. No one is ever going to vote for reparations in this country. It would be so divisive. Do you want another civil war? Because that's how you get a civil war, when you divide people like that. That's why we're at the point we're at now. And it's not the people. Like I said, if you leave people alone of all races in this country, they will get along. And the reason they get along in this country, where it has failed historically throughout other places, like the Roman Empire fell, because it became so many different groups and cultures and everything, you get a breakdown. In this country, because we're so wealthy and prosperous, and we have the ability to succeed, and everybody who comes here sees that, and they want a little piece of that, and they're like, yeah, this is the way to go. But if you flood this country with illegal immigrants, when you take in a wave of people that don't know how it works here and are bringing their ideas and how things should work from their third world country that failed, run by people like them, they come up here and then they want to bring that stuff with them because they don't have time to become assimilated and become Americans and say, hey, this is how it works here. And, the system works, but you got to go along with it, And the system is not racist. The system is the system. So, like I said, legally, systemic racism cannot exist in any corporation, business, or government. You can't have it. Anybody out there who doubts that, give me one example. Post one example. Show me an example of corporate. Find some paperwork, find some documents from any corporation currently operating that says, boom, this is what we do. We're going to keep down black people or brown people or Asian people. We're going to do all that. We're gonna keep them from getting jobs. We're gonna pay them less. We're gonna show me where, because I'll tell you right now, somebody would have already found it, and they would have been getting a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit. So whether it's out of the goodness of their heart or being scared of attorneys, it doesn't exist. Again, does it exist among individuals? Of course, that's human nature. That's what we went back to. People have to start looking at things on a micro level. Sometimes you can boil it down. One of my analogies is you can boil it down to what goes on in a bar room. The different characters, everybody know, and it could be at your local barber shop or wherever. You can boil it down to the different characters come in there. It's the same thing on a larger scale. You have groups of people that act certain way, and just leave people alone. They'll be fine. They'll get along fine. Trust me, I've seen it in the worst circumstances. When we go down and do hurricane rescues and stuff, I'm going to post on my website some of the pictures like from Hurricane Harvey and Maria and stuff. So people of every race, literally every race, every color, every creed. When we pulled up in the boat to pull somebody out of a flooded area, we didn't ask, hey, who'd you vote for in the last election? Hey, what's your nationality? Where'd your parents come from? Didn't ask that. And you know what? They didn't ask, looking at us, they didn't ask us either. We were dropping off water, bringing them water and food. Nobody said, hey, where are you from? Yeah, did you vote for, who'd you vote for, Donald Trump? No, nobody's ever asked me that in a disaster situation. You see people, their true nature comes out. People, human beings, individuals, will get along with other people just fine if you leave them alone. If there's not an outside influence, and then people feel that they have to go along with the group. Democrat voters in the city of Chicago, you need to stop just going along with the Democrat Party just because that's what you've always done. Because it's not getting you anywhere, and it won't get you anywhere. They want to keep you there in that suspended state of animation where you're constantly scared and you think the only thing standing between you and oblivion is this crooked politician who's going to go there and protect you. White people don't want to hurt you. They don't want to take anything from you. White supremacists are not coming kicking your doors, and it's ridiculous. But this is what. Listen to their words. Listen to their words, folks. Solutions. Let's look at the commonality. The commonality we have, present and historic. Historic, we have a commonality in this country. Everybody's ancestors who came to this country came here basically for a shitty reason. Either they were indentured servants on the European side, or they were criminals, or they had to get out of there for religious persecution, or they were sick of being downtrodden and sick of the peasant system, the serf system, that caste system that kept them. They could never rise above, and they wanted a new chance at something. Now, blacks were brought to this country under an entirely different set of circumstances, and bad things, bad circumstances. But what I'm going to tell you is that you have to know history, and you have to know where we've come since then. And you have to look at it. You have to remember your history. You have to be proud of your history. You have to be proud of your heritage. But if you keep dwelling on that, if you live in the past, you will never go forward. You'll never go forward. And these career politicians want to keep you living in the past. How many times have they been Jim Crow, slavery, Joe Biden? Oh, it's Jim Crow, Jim Crow, Jim Crow. It's not Jim Crow. Right? They throw out these phrases because they think it's supposed to get a knee-jerk reaction from black voters. And for the longest time it has, but they're starting to wake up. Black voters, Donald Trump increased his support 100% over what he had from 2016 to 2020. Look at all the black conservatives out there. I'm going to post links to a lot of black conservatives like Candace Owens, all people that you'll see them on Fox. I'd like to give everyone a homework assignment. If you're a Democrat voter, try this. And please, there's this. It won't hurt you. It won't kill you. I want you to turn off CNN, MSNBC, and the mainstream media, and I want you to go to and just watch for 1 week, 7 solid days. I want you to get your news from Fox News Channel and Newsmax, if you get Newsmax on your cable. And I want you to listen here in the Chicago area. Listen to WLS radio in the morning, starting with Chris Plant. Just have it on at work. Listen to Chris Plant and Dan Bongino and Ben Shapiro, and then further in the evening, Mark Levin. Listen to them for a week. It won't hurt you. The worst that could happen is you can yell at the radio, like I do when I listen to liberal radio. It's just like, you're wrong. You are so wrong. But just listen to it. Give it a chance. Because if you don't know the other side, now, a lot of people out there, when I said those names, first thing you did was knee-jerk reaction. Oh no, racist. Oh no. Even though you've never listened to them, and somebody else told you that they were racist. Oh, don't listen to them. They want to scare you from getting any proper information. That's it. It doesn't hurt you to go listen to it for a week and just see. Turn off the one side and listen to the other side. You've got worst case scenario. People tell you there's 2 sides to each story. Well, you have to listen to both of them and then figure out which one is right in the between. Usually it's somewhere in between. But in this case, the way it's going, they've gone so wacko on the left. It's all fear. Go over to the right. You're going to get some more positive stuff, and they're going to tell you, hey, this is what's happening. These are the things that are wrong, and this is how we're going to fix them. But try that experiment. Do that, please, just for 1 week. Try it. You've got absolutely nothing to lose. Everything to gain. New knowledge, a new way of looking at things. Maybe it might even spark your interest in, hey, that makes sense. So the historic is we all came over here for a crappy reason, by different means. I would suggest that rather than look at slavery as a negative and something to be angry about and stuff, you can't change the past. The past is the past. None of us can go back and change anything. If you keep dwelling on it, any psychologist would tell you this if someone was in therapy, that if you keep dwelling on the past, it's going to burn you up. You have to move on. Remember it, teach it, remember it, have a historical reference to it, be proud of your heritage. You know what you should do? Black folks should look at it and say, listen, my ancestors had it rough. They came over here in bondage and had to work, couldn't enjoy the fruits of their own labors, the physical abuse. You have to look at that and say, this is what my people, because I'll tell you this, every group that came over here had to go through some serious shit and got dumped on when they first got here. That's the way it is historically throughout history. But we're not there anymore. We've moved on, and we can remember it, we can teach it, but you can't dwell on it. It does none of us any good. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Fight me about it? I wasn't here. You weren't here. Couple things we can do to help that. Before we go there, I was laying in bed this morning. Again, I work with veterans who have post-traumatic stress, and we train service dogs for them. But in doing the work, there's some studies out that show that post-traumatic stress is exactly what it is. It's stress that you get, anxiety after a traumatic event, and that can be anything. It could be violence. You could see somebody shot in the street. You could be in a car accident. You could see a dog get hit, and that might affect you. Different things affect different people differently, of course. That was very clear. But with PTS, post-traumatic stress, they've done studies and they found out that PTS can actually be passed down from generation to generation through genetics, through your DNA. So say your parents had a particularly rough time, or something very bad happened to your family. A family member was murdered or something. Seeing that violence, that can be passed down genetically to their offspring. So then your kids have, without knowing it, and I don't know the extent of what it is. All I know is they were doing studies on this, and they believe that it can be handed down through DNA. So, like I said, I was laying in bed this morning, and it dawned on me that there's so much. When you hear about, a lot of times on the news, you hear about black anger and black rage. Is it possible that because, and I am totally familiar with this, if you've seen video 7, I know what it is to be screwed over by the system, crooked politicians. I know what it is not to be listened to. I know what it is to be falsely accused of something. I trust me, when I say I have more in common with everyone across this district, I have more in common with everyone across this district than any other candidate. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. The post-traumatic stress, this can build up, if that's the case, that this science is right, it can build up over generations. And if it does, you're going to see black anger of what happened. Not only if your father was beaten during a march in the 60s, and that trauma carried over to his offspring, and then his offspring grew up and maybe had bad encounter with the police and was traumatized, and that gets passed on. But not only that child, the son of the first man, gets to see that historically. He can look back and say, oh, my father had to go through that, so that's traumatic too, to look back and say, hey, my dad was there, and I wonder and now something bad happened to me, and that gets passed on to the next generation. And now you've got a pot that just, you're bringing it to a boil. Sooner or later it's going to explode. We deal with different things, different methods for dealing with post-traumatic stress. And the good thing is that there's a thing called neural pathways in your mind, and we teach our veterans to, if you have a negative thought about something, and it just, it keeps going over in your head, it's like, I pictured as two wagon wheels going down an old trail on an open prairie. After a while, they wear a path on the trail. They wear a trail through the grass, and the more you go over it, the deeper it gets. So the more you think those bad thoughts and keep thinking about the bad things that have happened, this is not negating that they happen, but the more you think about them, the deeper it gets, and the harder it is to get out of those two ruts. So what we teach our veterans to do is actually try and make a new path. Try and think about other things going forward. What can I do? What's my next thing? My goal is to go to school and then get this job, and I want to have a house, and these are the things that I plan, and this is how I'm going to get there from A to B. And the more you go over this path, this new path, this positive path, the more this one gets grown over with weeds, and you don't think about it as much. And then there's these, I believe they're called glial cells. They come in. These are the things that at night when you're sleeping, they come in, and the thoughts that you don't use, the stuff that you don't think about as much, like we all can't remember, like I'm going back to school, I can't remember certain math problems, how to do them, because I haven't done them in 45 years. Just never used them. Well, the glial cells come in and they cut out the old memories. They cut out the things that don't get fired. The neurons that don't get fired, they're like, well, he doesn't use that, so we'll get rid of it and make room for something else. The same thing happens with those bad thoughts. If you dwell on slavery and this and that, you can't. All it's going to do is hold you back and keep you down. And there's people on the left, politicians, want you there. That's what they want. Because if you ever realize the potential that you have and the potential that this country offers you, nobody is holding you back. Believe me, like I said, there's 11 Democrat candidates. All of them have at least a bachelor's, some of them a master's degree. How do they get that if they're being held back? But they're going to sit there and they're going to tell you that something about systemic racism and we need reparations and all this other stuff to divide, to scare you, to keep you there. So like I said, just give me 2 years. At the federal level, what we can do, media standards. This is a big thing. The media gets away with so much bullshit. They slant stories so bad. My recommendation would be this, that a law is passed that any news organization has to be federally licensed, and there's an independent bureau that reviews their stories. If you make X number of mistakes, so you can correct mistakes, but if you make X number of mistakes in X amount of days, your license gets suspended for a month at first. So you can't be on the air. This hits them in the pocketbook. This makes them, it leads to better honesty. Now, you can still have people on websites doing their own thing. They just won't be licensed. So when you go to a news source and it has a sticker on there that says, this has been verified that these people uphold certain standards, and if they don't, they're monetarily punished. At least you would have some idea that, hey, this should be somewhat reliable. And then you can go to one or two sources like that have and kind of weigh what's happening. But as it is now, it depends. News organizations are so partisan, you can't get the straight scoop. So most people throw up their hands, are like, I don't want to hear about it. Turn off the radio, turn off the TV, go about their lives, and then don't know about the stuff that's going on until election time rolls around. Then a politician comes and says, oh, well, you weren't looking, the white supremacists moved in and took over everything. Come on, man. Again, that's for Joe too. The other thing is break up and regulate big tech. Big tech is too powerful. They give too much money. Zuckerberg and all these other people give too much money to different candidates. They should be disallowed from giving any money to any candidates. That should be part of it. If you're going to have that much influence on people, you should not be allowed to influence candidates or the votes. So you need to break up these companies, antitrust laws, and you need to regulate any companies after that. The same way, you cannot put out any news pieces, anything that you say is news, and you also can't censor people. If you want to put something up on your Facebook page for your friends to see, your 500 friends, and they see it, it's nobody's business. Your friends will either say, he's being nutty again, or they'll say, that looks kind of interesting, and click on the link. But it's not up to an outside body to tell us what we can and can't see. Again, we're adults, but the Democrats, people on the left, want to treat you as children, because only if you're a child do you need them. But you're not children. You're not children. So don't let them do it to you. All right? That's it for this